Hi, fam. Happy Saturday morning. I'm going to do this quick because I know people have things to do, and you guys can always come back and watch this later. So I'm going to just do an early morning tag. One of the things I want to talk about today, and I think it's important so that people can stop asking this crazy question as to why African Americans are asking for reparations. The reality is, you think we're asking for something that America has never done, and you're so wrong. We have been here. I'm going to say this 99,000 times, 401 years. Okay, during World War II, we captured Japanese, and they were put in internment camps. All right. We'd already been here 300 years. So this is 300 years before we got here. So I need you to stop asking this crazy question as if this is a novel idea. So I said that I wanted to make sure that I do more teaching than preaching. I also don't want you to believe everything I say. And the reason why I don't want you to believe everything that I say is because that then takes away from your being proactive in understanding your own interpretation of what history in the United States actually comprised of, okay? So in June, the United States House of Representatives held a debate about reparations for African Americans, okay? And that's because they gave reparations to the Japanese. One of the questions is discussed is why Japanese Americans receive reparations for their internment by the United States federal government during the World War. Now, again, we were already here almost 300 years by the time of the World War. Yet African Americans have yet to receive reparations for their ancestors enslaved or other crimes committed against them. Like I said, rape, murder, kidnapping, all of which has no statute of limitation. So we're not asking for something that this country has not done for another ethnic group. So Japanese American and African American journalists and a book called Social Forces. It was written in 2004, so giving you some background of where you can go and get this information. It was cataloged by Rodney Coates, a professor of the Global Intercultural Studies in Miami. He said the answer on the movement theory, the explanation is a moral judgment as to whether African Americans should receive reparation. And everyone agreed that they should. But the difference that they explained why they couldn't is because it was more difficult for African Americans than Japanese to receive because of the number of people. So you held just a few people. You took from Africa hundreds of thousands. And one of the things I also want you to understand, that even though hundreds of thousands of us made it here, there are more African bodies in the bottom of the ocean that did not make it here. So be very clear. There are more Africans in the bottom of the ocean when they left the shores of Africa that did not make it here. So you're not even getting a quarter of the number of Africans killed by the colonists of America. Now, there were other countries that had already against slavery that would accost these ships as they were coming to the Americas. And so what they did is they opened the bow of the ship and let the black people drop into the ocean, so that when they came to inspect the ships, there was no theft. It's like when we have ships that we check to see if it has cocaine or drugs. Same thing, except we were the cocaine. We were the illegal objects on these ships. All right. It was much easier to obtain reparations under the following. The number of victims is relatively small. That's not our problem. You came and brought us here by the masses. Just because you can't count it now, that should not be a liability or an excuse. The victims are easily identifiable. Hell, we were real easy to identify. See, Asians don't look like white people. White people don't look like black people. So that was one of the reasons. Many of them are victims are still alive. Well, hell, you think we ain't alive? Do you think that our descendants of slaves are not still alive? See, they were able at the time, they did theirs so quick. That's how you know this is ridiculous. These were not citizens of the United States. We are citizens of the United States. These Japanese were not citizens of the United States, yet this country felt that the way they treated them in the World War, that they were deserving of reparations. Just think about that. So that whole citizenship, we didn't become citizens in the United States for years after 1776. Couldn't vote, couldn't buy property, couldn't get patents, and I'm going to give you all of the things that they stole from us that we didn't get paid for. But the one thing that we told during the so-called Lincoln announcement of our 40 acres and a mule was because we were supposed to get land, the one thing that allows us to flourish in this country. So let me continue. The injustice is easily identified. The injustice offends values of quality, personal safety, and their rights to property. We took their shit, and they got their stuff back. I got to stop cursing because we got to use these things for other things. It is a symbolic victim around whom advocates for reparations can rally. Well, we've been rallying. What's the difference? The amount of reparations asked for is not so large that the public will find it unreasonable. That's not our problem. The public's reasonableness or unreasonableness is not our problem. Like I said, if you immigrated in this country as an adult, if you immigrated in this country in the last 200 years, you came here with the ability to have, to be a citizen when we still were not citizens, although we were here 400 years. We could not get property. We could not vote. We could not get credit for any of the inventions. Everything we invented. Now, I'm going to get that on another day. I said I was going to do it today. But I still need you to understand why we are not asking you for something that we don't deserve and something you did not give to another group that were not even citizens. So, again, keep this clear because we're trying to make this a little bit too complicated. So quite a few former interments were still alive in 1988 when reparations was offered. 1988. I'm going to keep saying this. 1619. We were brought here 1619. And only 1/4 of the Africans actually made it to the shores. You have a Columbus Day. For most of you who don't know that Columbus was not Italian, so I don't know why it's an Italian holiday. He was Spaniard. His name was Columbus. And he never made it further than Puerto Rico. He never set foot. We have a Columbus Day. He never set foot on the shores of the United States. Okay, so I'm going to continue because I don't want to make this long today. They were both Second and World War victims and had lost, and there was one guy who had lost an arm in the battle. Finally, the amount paid to him was $20,000. For each living survivor that was in this country in 1988, okay, they were given a total of $80,000 for each living survivor. $80,000 in 1988, okay? It totaled about $1.6 billion. Now, I don't give a damn that y'all don't want to keep your records, but you can give them, hell, we'll take the damn $80,000. We'll take the $80,000, and we were here how long? And they were in internment camps. They were out there doing your fields and cleaning your houses and building this country. Okay, you were holding them as prisoners of war. So again, comparing the Japanese to American enslaved, the descendants endured much more severe injustice. Yes, we did. Enslavement violated all norms of personal safety. The owners were permitted to beat and torture enslaved people. In some cases, murder them. Not in some cases, most cases. The violation offered all contemporary norms of racial equality that we still to this day perpetuate in this country. We are still today shooting black people in this country. We are still today, our law enforcement, those who we pay our taxes to serve and protect, are still killing us in this country today. Why don't you give $80,000, which you gave to the Japanese, to every family who has been killed by a police officer? 80,000 ain't no money. It ain't no money. And I'm just off the top, not including each and every person that is found to be killed by a police officer should get a huge amount of money for civil suits. You wanted to go after Bill Cosby's money. You wanted to go after O.J. Simpson's money, because I've heard a lot of people get indicted and found guilty. I don't hear no civil suits, because remember, O.J. Simpson was found to be innocent or not guilty, and I know no case is necessarily innocent. But his family of his ex-wife was able to sue him civilly. So you need to understand, we're not asking you to give us jack. We're asking you to give us what we deserve. Slavery was abolished in 1865, but many injustices were perpetuated in the post-1865 Jim Crow period and beyond. These included continued violation of body safety, such as lynching, that's killing by mobs, Ku Klux Klan, present-day police officers, same thing, okay? Shootings by police, segregation, discrimination, violation of principles and equality, and even when the African American earned the same incomes, remember, because y'all think that y'all giving us something we ain't worked for. There was a time when African Americans, by our merit, were making the same incomes, because then white people got pissed. We're better than them. Why can they make the same amount of money? I'm not giving you, I want you to research my information. Don't just say that Takwase is giving you something that has no merit. Hey, Jay, I know you're going to be here, bro. You know you already know the history. So I'm just going to give some hellos. All right. More broadly, it included municipal government, private business, and educational institutions and churches. The U.S. federal government and the government of every state that ever permitted slavery of African American, again, were municipal governments, private businesses, educational institutions, and churches. So you better be worrying about where you saying your hallelujahs at. The problems in organizing reparations for African Americans lie in other characters of successful social movements for reparation. It is difficult to identify which people of African descent in the United States today are descendants of enslaved. I told you how to do this. If you brought your happy asses over here from any country and you got a passport from another country, you're out. Anyone who came to this country, I don't give a damn if you came from Africa. If you have a passport or you gain citizenship in this country by way of a passport, you are not a descendant of a slave. If you gained a passport in this country from another country, you are not a descendant of a slave. So don't tell me you cannot count who are descendants of slaves. Any passport, whether you are a citizen or not, that was changed to an American citizen means you are not a descendant of a slave. So you are not in this number of being counted of those who reparations belong to. You cannot make it because you don't want to count us. You don't want to take the time of counting us, yet we are filling out census. Put on those census where were you originally born. If you want to put anything on, if you want to put something on there, if you were white. If you are white, you are not a descendant of a slave. If you have a passport ever from another country, you are not a descendant of a slave. You know for sure that slave descendants are black. You did not bring any white slaves from Africa. The one reason that we have as many shades of African enslavement is because of the rape done by whites in this country, which again is a crime that has a no statute of limitations. So we're not even talking about our 40 acres and a mule. We're talking about all of the illegalities that was done against us that we have not to this day gotten any justice. All right, let's continue this. Some people who advocate for reparations also ask for large amounts of public that the public would probably find unreasonable. For example, in 2004, it was a debate by Rodney Coase, who asked for 12 to 15 trillion dollars, which is 60 to 75% of the U.S. gross domestic product of 2.5 trillion in 2018. Hell, we give more than that. We give more than that to the military. We give more than that to the United States police departments who kill us every day. Okay? Is it now? My daughter is an aerospace engineer. Do you think it is more important for us to put money into a ship going into the sky? Now, that's my baby's jam. I ain't trying to take away from her coins. But if we got our reparations, we can build our own ships and fly on up there like Elon Musk. And you look at all of these white folks that have these patents over here that were not born here. Elon Musk is from South Africa, from a country that also held black people in their own countries as enslaved. But yet Elon Musk is over here making all kinds of coins. You know, y'all do not play with me today. This doesn't mean that it is impossible for the movement of reparations of African Americans to succeed. A social movement for businesses, universities, and churches acknowledge there is a role in slavery and that the Jim Crow era has already started. This is going on right now. They're reversing. Georgetown in Washington, for example, has offered reparations in a form of a preferential admission to the 4,000 descendants of 272 slaves that were sold in 1838. So in 1838, Georgetown actually allowed slaves to come to their school. What happened to that? What happened to that? If you are a state school, no black person descendant of a slave should ever have to pay to go to school. You prevented us from going to school for more than 300 years. Yet some of us got in. My aunt Rosalind Jeffries, a black historian, she went to Yale in 1958. Only 6 people in her class. My uncle, Leonard Jeffries, he went to Lafayette. Only 6 of the incoming class, and he was in a Jewish fraternity because Jews were not considered white. So you can call my Uncle Leonard Jeffries an anti-Semitic if you want to, but he was in a Jewish fraternity at Lafayette University because white people were not, Jews were not considered white. I didn't make that up. Now, I can have my uncle and aunt and get on here next time I go over to Teaneck, and the amount of knowledge they can drop on you, you need to sit back, relax, and enjoy. I'm gonna give you time to get a drink. When I go back over to Teaneck, I'm gonna give you a little bit of that from my family who has been doing this. This is my hobby. That was their living. This is what they have done. They are in their 80s. They've been married 65 years. And all of those years, they both went to Ivy League schools when there were no blacks in Ivy League schools. So, all right, I'm going to keep going because I don't want to look like I'm bragging on my family. So, the Office of a Redress Administration was established in 1988 and was charged with the administering a 10-year program to provide a tax-free restitution of $20,000 to be eligible to individuals of Japanese ancestry. All y'all needed was ancestry. Hell, we got pretty much clear our ancestry. To individual Japanese ancestry, fundamental injustice. This is what they got it for. Fundamental injustice. Can you really count hanging us and kidnapping us and raping us as not fundamental injustices? That was just a funny, but you knew the truth. Relocation. Oh hell. We even took them back to Japan. Built them houses when they got there. Okay? Now, we ain't going no damn where. Because if we go there, everybody that came after us, y'all need to get your happy ass out of here too. Irish, Slavian, German, French. Must I go on? Anything other than the white settlers from England? If you the Native Americans, so we want to start from England because England over there, they proper asses. This is some England shit. They did this shit around the world. Okay, but the English colonists, when you hear colonists, you're talking about British. So every last one of these other ethnic groups. I'm sorry to tell you, white folks, it's not personal. This is not a Kwasi Sekou bashing white people morning. This is my education morning, and I decided I want to do early in the morning because I want to get on with my day. So if you are not English, then you came over here on your own. Don't come all up in here with our stuff. So, and this is why I keep saying, and I know that people are going to disagree with me. I know that there are injustices against the gay community. I know there are injustices against Muslim communities. I know there are injustices against the Jewish community. But there's no injustice like injustice against the African Americans and the Native Americans. They gave the repercussions of the reparations they gave to the Native Americans. It's shameful. It's shameful. I mean, you got their entire country, yet you put them on blocks of land in the most the soil is not even able to even till to grow anything. So you really wasn't trying to give them anything. You were just placating for the purposes of the fact you know how dang wrong you were. And so you just come up with nonsense. So, as I said, approximately 26,550 people came to claim their money. Totaling, each were given at one point $142,000 to each. The program was administered by the Justice Department, which set a $100 million limit. Hell, we will take it. We will take $100 million each. You can do it for the Japanese. Hell, you can do it for Americans. We are Americans. We're more American than any other ethnic group in this country. And every one of you want to get pissed off. Every last one of you, no matter where in Europe you came from, you are not more American than the descendants of a slave. Because when British rolled up in here in 1609, we were only here 6 years later. You know, don't play with me today, because I'm really feeling like I need to give y'all some serious information so we can stop this bull crap conversation. Trying to justify to white folks because nobody chooses to read no dang books. All right. In the order, it was been eligible for a restitution. An application had to have been made. So all the Japanese had to do was make an application. One, that they were alive on August 10th, 1988. Really? Really? Two, a United States citizen or permanent resident alien during the interment period, which was December 7th of 1941 to June 1946. Because you just decided that you want to give them a time period, that does not negate our 401 years. A person of Japanese ancestry or the spouse or parent. Now, so come on now. Then now you done opened up the doors. You done opened up the doors. So if you could prove that your spouse who might be dead or your parent who might be dead, all you had to prove with Japanese ancestry, you got your money. The other thing, you were evacuated, relocated, interned, or otherwise during the or disenfranchised during World War II. The redress programs was charged with the administration for the 10-year program, which by operation of law officially closed on February 5th, 1999. They got money up into 1999, starting from 1941. 1619, 1619, 1619. I'm gonna keep saying this because y'all think we supposed to be just crazy and let you do any damn thing you want to, and think that we don't know what you did for other people, and you want to call us lazy when you took everything we had, you burned down every community we had that we built here in America, that we were forced. All right. I said I was not going to do angry stuff. I ain't going to do no angry stuff, y'all. All right. This money was tax-free. So if you stayed in America and you lived in America, you didn't even have to pay taxes on this money. Since the redress program incepted, the ORA, the Organization of Reparations and Appropriations, had provided $20,000 in redress to more than 82,219 eligible claimants, totaling more than $1.6 billion. Among the established 82,219 individuals paid, 189 were Japanese Latin Americans. Ho, 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 ho. So, if you were Japanese while you were over here and you married a Mexican or someone of Hispanic descent, you still got your money. So if we got watered down from the rape of white folks and you see some white in our DNA, we know that is from raping. We did not bring over light-skinned black people. The reason why we got light-skinned black people is because of intermarriage, some by choice. But if you, oh, see, every time I get on good stuff, they try to blank me out. Okay, I'm going to go again. So I just wanted to give this for the morning. I didn't want to stay a long time. And this just is the beginning of a long conversation about reparations, because we have spent far, far too much time trying to give them the reality of why the African American is deserving of reparations. If you could do it for the Japanese, you can do it for us. They were internment camps due to a war. We were on plantations due to your kidnapping us and enslaving us like animals. And to this day, you're killing us. You got police officers sitting in cars right now in 2020, even under the helm of a black chief, plotting how to kill us. So we are in a position no other person, no other human being in the world has ever been put in, and no other place in the world. As soon as Nelson Mandela came out of 27 years of being in prison, he was made president of his country. And there has been a black president ever since. Now, I'm not saying South Africa is perfect, but America, you ain't nowhere near it. You ain't nowhere near anything of greatness. Pay up. Pay up. Give us back what we deserve. That's why I say we should pay no property taxes. We should not have to pay no property taxes, no income taxes. We still have to work because we don't want you to give us anything. But it will be 400 years of just giving us no taxes and free education and free health care. And you know what? We know every damn group in this country is going to jump on that bandwagon, and we will be then forgotten again like you do in every other march, every other establishment. Like I say, if you're gay and black, then you just roll right into the fold. But don't tell us that we don't deserve what you gave, at the very least, to Japanese who were not citizens of this country. Grace and peace. I hope you had a wonderful Friday. I chilled on some jazz all night. Sat up and watched some old movies with my daughter. She's a Madea fan. We're going to watch Hamilton today. But I love you, man. I just feel like it's necessary for me to teach you guys something that you may not have time to sit down and research. And let your children hear this. This is something I'm going to try to make sure that sometimes I know I'm not always talking to adults because I can get a little ratchet in the language sometimes. God forgive me. You know, everybody got a little sin. And, you know, profanity when I get pissed off comes out. So I do apologize if I offend any of you, because I do know that some people from my church do listen. But I'm also not fake, so I can't just pretend that that's not how I talk. I love you guys. Please share the knowledge. Have a wonderful, wonderful day. I don't do recordings on Sunday, so I'll see you on Monday.